Hello, my fellow Extraordinary Americans. I'm Samaddar, and this is Extraordinary America. What is Extraordinary America about? You see, American identity is about freedom, the opportunity for a better life, and the pursuit of happiness. However, most Americans are not free when it comes to the financial front. Most Americans are suffering from financial slavery due to loss of jobs, stagnant wages, inflation, and debt of all kinds. Wealth and income inequality runs rampant across America, and the middle class is all but disappeared. So, what is Extraordinary America about? Extraordinary America is about the abolition of financial slavery. It is about the financial freedom of the 99%. It is about the nation of immigrants and descendants of immigrants awakening and unleashing the extraordinary within themselves and setting themselves free. The path to financial freedom is through entrepreneurship and investing on the light side. It is about financial education, not only when it comes to money in the monetary systems, but also in regards to how to start a business, investing, especially when it comes to precious metals and real estate. In this podcast, I interview guests, many of whom came from humble beginnings, to see how they did it and how they attained financial freedom in their own lives and how they did business. And it is my hope that you will be inspired and you will want to awaken extraordinary within yourselves and realize the American dream. Once again, welcome to Extraordinary America. Welcome back to the show, my fellow extraordinary Americans. For today's guest, we have Tanya Brockett. Tanya is the founding editor of Halogen Inc., an author services company located in Charlottesville, Virginia. She serves her author clients as a ghostwriter, copy editor, book coach, and podcast host of the Write Something Worthy podcast. Tanya's professional years were spent being a cheerleader for small business owners wanting to launch, finance, grow, and harvest their businesses. She worked with venture capital through the Dingman Center for Entrepreneurship at the Smith School of Business at the University of Maryland. She was the director of two small business development centers in two states, namely Maryland and Virginia. She taught thousands in university entrepreneurship courses, private training, and business training workshops. She wrote her first book, The Loan Solution, to help her clients to ready themselves for securing debt capital for their businesses. That same year, she received a nomination as a Financial Services Advocate for the Year for the U.S. Small Businesses Administration. She helped over 200 of her clients to secure capital that year. That book led to her helping a new nonprofit to launch their loan programs and landed her on a radio show that interviewed Tim Ferriss, who's the author of the well-known book, The 4-Hour Workweek. Tanya is what I would call an extraordinary American, and I'm glad and honored to have her on the show. Tanya, are you there?
Yes, I am. Thank you so much for having me. It's so wonderful to be here with you today.
Tanya, thank you so much for taking the time to be on this show. I'm really honored. Tanya, I know that you're a ghostwriter. Like you have a company called Halogen Inc., and you have educated entrepreneurs. Can you tell me and the audience a little bit more about yourself, your background, and how you got started?
Wow. So I did not start in the whole entrepreneurship realm until I had taught thousands of people how to be entrepreneurs. At the time, I was working at the universities, I was working at small business development centers, I was a consultant and a coach for small businesses, but I hadn't launched my own business. It was through my education that I was sharing that and living vicariously through my clients. So it wasn't until after I left the Small Business Development Center and went out on my own that I started as an entrepreneur myself. And it was really exciting, obviously, to go through it as an entrepreneur and to help other entrepreneurs to live that life. But putting all of my training, all of the learning that I had done throughout the years into my own ventures, as well as those that I was serving, made life a lot more rich, I have to admit. It was much more enjoyable.
So, Tanya, can you tell me and the audience a bit more about the trajectory of how you got into education and then how you started Halogen, like how you started the entire process, like where you were teaching entrepreneurs and then what made you go through this journey?
Yes. So I went through the McIntyre School of Commerce, which is one of the top business schools, public business schools in the country. And there I discovered, actually, when I was at McIntyre, there wasn't a whole lot of emphasis on entrepreneurship. So what I did was I pursued every small business finance course, every opportunity to work with the local small business development centers to do client work while I was at school. And that led me to my interest in entrepreneurship. From there, I went to the Dingman Center for Entrepreneurship, which is at the University of Maryland. And I was able to further my education in entrepreneurship by working with venture capitalists, working with intellectual properties, and helping businesses to spin out intellectual property through the commercial realm. So that really fostered my growth in entrepreneurship. Then when I went back to Virginia after working at the University of Maryland, I started teaching at the University of Virginia and working with the small businesses in that community. And it just blossomed from there. You know, I have an interesting story that I learned about just recently, that one of my students that I rejected from my entrepreneurship class when I was at the University of Virginia went on to become a huge tech entrepreneur and investor in the entrepreneurial community. And it's so funny that you think, wow, how did rejection lead to your success? And quite frankly, entrepreneurs are familiar with failure. They're familiar with having setbacks. They're familiar with having to work through growth problems, financing problems, production issues, and so forth and so on. So one thing to keep in mind as an entrepreneur is that failure is only feedback. Failure is your next step to the next breakthrough. It is innovation. So don't get caught up in, oh man, I'm an entrepreneur and I didn't do this well. No, you've got other opportunities, and that's going to feed you to get to that next level.
Tanya, I love it. Like I love the what you just said over here about failure being feedback, because a lot of people they feel ashamed and humiliated at failure, but it's literally a stepping stone to success. It's kind of like you have a macro scale and then you have individual steps, and they think of most people think of that one step as the entire thing, right? They see the entire forest for that one tree, but no, it's a stepping stone. And yeah, you need to have feedback and you need to have data collection in and see where you're going wrong and then learn from others and then do that. And then the other part about like rejection, yeah, like rejection, at least for me, like I know it spurs me on. Like if somebody tells me I can't do something, then I know I'm going to do it just to prove that person wrong, you know?
That's right. And this guy sure did. He went on to a lot bigger and better things from that experience.
I would actually go on to say that maybe you actually motivated him by like by rejecting him, because like that because a lot of times people like they get fueled with I gotta do something after that. So yeah.
Well, I have to admit, it must have to some degree, because later he wrote a book about his success and he included my rejection letter in his book. So it
That,
actually did make an
wow,
impact. It made an impact. That's all I know.
that explains everything, man.
Uh, but yes, you know, some people say that if you haven't failed, you haven't tried enough, you haven't done enough, you haven't grown enough. And so I it is interesting how we can perceive failure as a negative thing, but it doesn't have to be. All we have to do is say, get up, dust off, and take the next step up and make it the next time.
So
You know, a
Tanya,
lot of people, they say a lot of people stop short of their dream, right? They stop short of their goal, they have a failure, and then they're like, oh, I can't do this, I'm not going to go on. And they were just inches from where they were trying to get. If they would just get off that one last time and dust off and get back out there, they could have it.
man, Tanya, that's very inspirational because it's really true. You know, like a lot of people like they try something for a little bit and then they just give up, you know, but they have to be persistent and they have to know that there's the grand vision and strategy. And then you just got to keep trying. And if you're failing, then you just get data collection and you just pivot, you know. But a lot of people they just it's more about like motivation, right? So a lot of people they have to go within themselves and have a motivation that allow them to go and continue to succeed in spite of getting hit with the rejections and failures. So, Tanya, which brings me to the next question, like, what was the motivating factor for you during your entire time in your career when you went through this entire journey? Like,
Well, you
what
know, one thing that I actually keep on my wall still is my why. And it is my three daughters and getting them through college. That was one of my initial intentions. When I first started my first business, I think my first daughter was 3.5, and my second daughter was, less than a year old. So they've had to grow up with an entrepreneurial mother. And they were my inspiration for continuing to working hard and trying to make things happen, because I wanted to see them grow up into awesome, talented, beautiful, magnificent, brilliant women. And they have. I have three daughters from 25 down to 20. And my youngest is in her third year of college. So she's almost done, and that'll be the third one out. All of them are hugely successful, dynamic, awesome, and driven. And I'm just excited that I was able to inspire that in any way. Because they know, sometimes they have to channel their inner mom and try to remember to be positive when things aren't going great, and to, keep that motivation going, keep that fuel. Sometimes it's passion that is that fuel to persistence that you need in order to keep going. And so if you're passionate about what you're doing, you're passionate about giving, you're passionate about helping, you're passionate about succeeding, whatever it is that creates that passion and fire in you, that's what's going to fuel your persistence to go through whatever it is that's necessary. So my biggest why was my family. That was my biggest why. And my second why, and the reason I created Halogen Inc., was I wanted to help authors, nonfiction in particular, to take those books out of their hearts and their minds and get them out onto the page so that they can make a positive impact on the world. Because so many people, they say, what is it, 80% or more people claim they want to write a book. Less than 5% do. Less than 3% of them actually publish it. So if you have all these people who are not getting those stories out of them, then there's millions of people that they're not positively impacted. So if we can get those stories out, then those words, however they're given, whether it's given in a documentary film or whether it's given in a book, those words can make a positive impact on somebody else, inspire somebody else to move up in their own lives and fulfill their dreams.
Wow. No, that is I'm taking some time to like process it, because yeah, you're right. A lot of people want to write their stories, but they never actually do so. But their stories could impact somebody else's life, Like we have no idea how the actions that we do end up impacting the people around us, because we just go about doing like living life. But if we tell our story and people hear it, then somebody will be impacted.
That is right. That is absolutely right. And, one of the things that I say a lot on my Write Something Worthy podcast is, don't hog your journey. It is not just for you. So oftentimes that story that you had that you think, oh, well, everybody goes through this, or everybody's done that, or I'm nothing special. That story that you tell, you are the only one who can tell it, because you're the only you there is, right? And the way you tell it can have a profound impact on somebody that you wouldn't know. Let me tell you one example. And that is, I was teaching a rather boring understanding financial statements course, right, for small businesses. And you think that's rather a dull subject, right? Not a big deal. At the end of this course, one of the participants was crying. And she came up and hugged me, and she was like, oh my gosh. I'm like, this is understanding financial statements. Why are you crying? And she said, because all the time she had gone through classes on financial statements, it went right over her head. Today, she said, the way you explained it to me, I finally got it. I get it. I'm ready now. I understand this. And so that just goes to show you, you don't know what impact you are going to have. They could have been taught something a million times, but because you said it, Cosmos, because you did it, now they understand and it resonated with them and they can take that and do something with
Wow. I want to get more into it, like when I ask you about halogen ink, like later on in the podcast. But one of the things I wanted to ask you first, Tanya, is I know you've been around like hundreds of entrepreneurs during your lifetime. Can you tell me and the audience, like, what is the biggest lesson you learned during that time, like about what it takes to be a successful entrepreneur?
Wow. There are so many experiences I have had over the years. Let me think about that for a hot minute. Well, I don't know if this is the topmost message, but one of the keys to being successful as an entrepreneur is not just having an idea and thinking I'm going to create a job for myself doing this, but rather I'm going to create a vision that's going to allow me to have a company that's going to create opportunities for others in this field. So instead of thinking of yourself as a business owner and saying, I'm just going to create a job for myself. Oh, I've been a plumber all my life. This guy, that I'm working for, I could do that and better. I'm going to do it for myself. So then you go off and you create a plumbing job instead of creating a vision for a company that allows others to use their skills and blossom and grow while you create the perfect home for others with your plumbing services. So that mentality of creating a job versus creating a business and an entity, I think is a really important distinction. And it's one of those things that oftentimes when we create businesses, we're just thinking, oh, I want to do this. I want to create a business doing that. And I'm going to do that. Whereas if you can think bigger than that, if you can go to your vision for why you would want to have a company that serves others in that way, then you can have others align with that vision so that you can serve people in a bigger, better way. I think that's an important thing for entrepreneurs to think of.
No, I couldn't agree more because like vision is everything. If you have a big vision, then others will get on board, and like people will even offer their services for free sometimes because they believe in the vision so much. But a lot of people like they're not thinking big enough, and like you have to think big, but you also have to be practical about it. Like, how do I go about it altogether? So I see what you're saying. It's true.
And a lot of people also, in the early days, I really hammered in on creating business plans. And I've written a lot of business plans. I've read a million business plans, but it's not the plan that has to be some big grandiose thing. But if you can at least set out in writing what your intention is, then you have a much greater chance of achieving what it is that you're setting out to do. Because it's so easy as entrepreneurs, especially, to say, oh, okay, I'm going to do this. And you just think, oh, I'm just going to do that. But you don't actually write it down and create some steps and actions that you can take as a result of it. And so the next thing that comes along, you're like, oh, yeah, that looks good. I could do that. So now what happened to this thing over here you said you were going to do? Now you're running off and doing that. That's that squirrel syndrome, right? The shiny object syndrome.
Yeah.
Writing down your intention, even if you don't want to do a full-fledged business plan, at least writing out like an executive summary. What is it that you intend to do? Who do you intend to serve? How do you intend to serve them? What problem are you solving? What benefit is it to those who you are serving? And get that in writing so that you can at least have a clear intention about what you're doing with your business.
No, yeah. I think business plans, a lot of people they do businesses, but I don't think they ever came to like they don't really write the business plan in a way where like they know how to get to their vision and goal. So like what is there like a tip you could give the audience on like how to do a proper business plan or
Oh,
how to go about doing it,
well, one very easy way is to just take a template for a concept document. It really doesn't have to be that hard. And if they want to reach out to me and ask, hey, do you have a one-page executive summary that I can use to start my plan? Reach out to me and I'll give you what I have. But one tool that I also like to use is actually a book by one of my clients, Power Your Profits by Susie Carter, published by Simon & Schuster. She is dynamic. She is a profit coach. She is a fractional CFO. She knows how to make money. She can just look at your business and see dollar signs just falling out everywhere and help you to find where your money is in your business. So her book, Power Your Profits, really helps people to think through each aspect of their book and actually have fun with the money part instead of dreading it, and have fun planning the sales aspect of it. Because when you get to share your business with the world, that is a positive thing. But a lot of people look at it as dread. Oh my gosh, I have to sell my stuff. And they're afraid of sales, right? But if you're doing something that you believe in, that you believe has a value to others, that will make a positive impact in the world, then you want to share it, right? You want to say, oh, I would be, I could not go throughout this day if I didn't share with you about this opportunity. And so then you can be more excited about sharing your business, right? But anyway, Power Your Profits, the book, can help work through the business planning for any particular venture, whether it's a big $10 million business or whether it's a small one-stop shop. And also, if you want a template for an executive summary or something that covers the basic aspect of what you need to think about as you're starting your business, then reach out to me and I'll be glad to help.
That's awesome, Tanya. So Tanya, another thing I wanted to ask you was what during a time with all these entrepreneurs, like what is the biggest challenge you realize that entrepreneurs face and like while doing their business, and what do you think they should do to overcome it?
One of the challenges that I found that both in my authors, in the book publishing process that I've taught, and in my entrepreneurs and the entrepreneurship courses that I've taught, is fear. It is fear that can be described in a variety of ways. One, the fear of success. What if I'm really successful doing this? Then I'm going to have to do this, and people are going to look to me for that, and they're going to want to come to me for money, and then they're going to do this and that and the other. So they have all these fears wrapped around success. And then there's the fear of failure. That, oh my gosh, so if I do this and so sees me not be as successful as them, and oh my gosh, what am I going to do when I don't do well, and yada yada. So maybe I shouldn't even do it, because I don't have to worry about failing if I don't try, right? So fear tends to be one of those things that entrepreneurs deal with a lot, and authors. And one way to recognize that it is just, well, there are a couple of different definitions for fear, right? The fantasized event appearing real, the future event appearing real. You are in your now. The future doesn't exist yet. So there's nothing to say that what you do now couldn't lead to a positive result. So fear is unfounded. It is faith used in the wrong way. It's used in the negative. So if you can believe that you can do something, that you can make a positive impact in the world through your work, through your words, if you can believe in that, then you can start taking the steps to make that so. And as one of your other guests indicated once before, Lorianne Garner, you write something down, you are more likely to bring that to fruition. So if you can acknowledge that you have this fear of success, let's say, and I'm afraid if I'm successful, everybody in my family is going to want money from me and everything, whatever. So you acknowledge that fear, and then you can say, what would I like to believe instead? And you can turn that around and you say, think of 6 things maybe that you can feel or want to have experienced instead. I want to feel good that I am successful. I want to be able to give and be looked to as somebody who is philanthropic. I want to be able to be, successful and have so many zeros in my bank account that, I have to spread it all over the place. I want to feel that success. So turn that around for yourself so that you can start feeling the positive rather than the negative, and then focus on that positive as you take steps, and then allow the universe to kind of support you because you are focusing on that positive in that direction that you want to go. So let go of the fear, recognize it's just a belief, and that you can change that belief whenever you want to. You can choose what to believe and then act on that belief.
A lot of people think that their beliefs are their identity. So what you're saying is really profound in a way, because I think I talked about it with a few of the guests as well. Your identity and who you are doesn't really have to be you. Like your beliefs can alter according to your will, because you're the awareness behind those beliefs. But a lot of people identify with their beliefs so strongly that they're kind of like stuck as a rock, you know? Because in order to become an entrepreneur, right, you have to change your identity. If you're like in the 99%, like you got to become that person, different person. But that transition period where they have to change their beliefs around how they look at money and a bunch of other things, like that's when a lot of people get confused. They have their old identity and then they're looking at their new identity, you know?
And they also wrestle with the imposter syndrome, right? It's like, well, I say I want to be the successful entrepreneur, but I'm really just a peon right now. And so how can I act as if when I know I'm not, right? But what you can do is you create what it is that you want in your imagination, in your mind, and then you can truly be who you say you want to be. Because in your imagination, you can be whatever you want to. There is nothing stopping you. And so when you can decide that I want to live up to this imaginary version of me, then you can start acting in a way that that imaginary version of you would act. What kind of decisions would I make as an entrepreneur who was successful? How would I choose to budget and spend my money? Who would I want to work with to allow me to really get into this business and be successful? Then you start making those decisions and making those moves, and you end up being what you imagined that you could be.
Wow, Tanya, I mean, that's pretty true. Like what you're saying. Yeah, I think I would also add that they have to also come up with the action steps, right? Like once they have that thing. So that's where the business plan comes into play. Like you imagine that ideal version of yourself, and then you're coming up with the action steps to gradually be there one step at a time. But yeah,
And be open in those one steps at a time, be open in that business plan to allowing it to change as need be. You can hold your vision, but the strategy for getting there can change, right? So you have to allow yourself to grow to the next level, allow yourself to shift over here when the business plan no longer makes sense for reaching that vision because now you're at a different place. So you allow those changes to happen so that you can get to that final vision, but you keep your eye on the prize, and then you allow yourself to get there in whatever way makes sense, because that's when you might have that little failure, right? But then you just get on back up and you keep that vision up ahead of you and you keep striving for it. Now, one of the things in regards to beliefs that is often an issue for people is that you're programmed by the time you are very young to believe certain things, and you operate on that belief whether you realize it or not. So there could be a belief that your parents gave you because they argued about money, and you can see them arguing about money. So your belief is, ooh, money is bad and makes you argue and makes people not happy together. So I don't want to have money because I want to be happy with people, right? And you don't recognize that you made that decision, but in your youth you did. And so you grow up and you're like, geez, I either never have money or I never have a relationship. Which is it going to be? Well, when you can go back and say, you know what, that belief served me at that time, but right now it no longer serves me. So I choose to believe something different. Beliefs are only that. They're just thoughts that you can choose to change. Now, it can be harder to change just because they're ingrained in you. You habituated that way of being, right? But you can choose to believe something different. And if it's a choice, why not choose something that actually serves you right now? Why not choose, I can be wealthy and have a great relationship? People do it. I see it happen out there. It is possible. So that means it's possible for me. So I think I'm going to choose to believe that now instead. And then you
Well,
can start acting on that.
Tanya, there was actually a book written by T. Harv Eker. I forgot the exact title. It was like something about success of the
Secrets of the
millionaire mind.
Millionaire Mind.
The
Secrets
millionaire
of
mind, yeah, like what you just talked about over here is exactly what T. Harv Eker mentioned in the millionaire mind. Like a lot of times in our childhood, we don't even realize what subconscious beliefs we have put in. And when we're trying to start a business, we have to have an analysis or introspection of what our subconscious beliefs are. And it's so insidious, because we grow up and we don't even realize it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And it's so funny. I discovered something in my, like, I was in my late 20s. No, I was in my 30s when I discovered a belief that I held, and I discovered where it came from. And it was when I was like 11 years old. And I realized, oh my goodness. So I have been operating on that all this time, and I had no conscious recognition of that. But when it came to my awareness, it was like, okay, nope, I don't believe that anymore. I'm switching that game, and we're going to start believing something else so that I can act accordingly. So, a lot of authors feel the same way. I don't believe I can write a book that's going to be successful, so I'm not going to ever finish it. So sometimes they've got books stacked up on their desk that they've written, but they won't publish because they don't want the world to know about it. So they don't believe they can be successful, so they hold back. So
No,
I,
I mean, it's
I'm
true. Like we could go on this for like hours and hours because it's true. Like belief is everything, like ultimately, if you want to become the person you want to be, you have to have the beliefs of that person, right? And that the I think the thing that people find hardest to do is that like going over the imposter syndrome and like the transition process. But like
Mhm.
if you do it the way you're suggesting, yeah, they can definitely do it. So Tanya, on a different note, I want to ask you this, right? Like I mean, America is the land of the free and the place where dreams are made. Do you agree or disagree with that?
I agree with the intention that this is where we should be able to come and be free and act accordingly. I don't agree in the implementation of that at all times. That not all of our systems, institutions, and everything make that true for everyone. But hopefully, I do also believe that I can't imagine being anywhere else but in America. I mean, I believe in the ideals. I believe that we have opportunity here, but we have to be persistent and create that opportunity for ourselves sometimes. And sometimes we have to go get past other things that are going on around us in order to continue to see our vision and pursue our dream and fulfill that for ourselves. So I do believe there's a land of opportunity here, but we have to seize it. We have to go for it. It's not just going to be laid in our laps. At least for a great number of us, it's not going to be laid in our laps.
I mean, no, yeah, what you're saying is true, Tanya. Like, obviously there are imperfections and flaws in every country, but America, like the ideals, it's pretty good, right? And I would say that the identity of America, the belief would be based on an entrepreneurial immigrant identity. And like that's why so many people start businesses over here because it's the expression of freedom when it's coming to like the financial front.
That is right. And that's one of the reasons why I'm really excited to be working with creating documentaries in the coming year of entrepreneurs, of immigrants who have come in and had to overcome and then succeed in creating their entrepreneurial vision here, succeed in achieving the American dream as they see it, and then share that with others. So when you can share your journey and not hog it, and and allow others to see the possibilities so that they can also elevate themselves, it's such a wonderful thing. So my joy is being able to help entrepreneurs to write that story, either in a book or in a documentary film, to help them to express what possibilities are so that they can inspire others to achieve it as well.
Wow. Yeah, I mean, it's like the great American story if you think about it, right? Like ultimately, like people love hearing stories about like the success stories like of immigrants that come from overseas, they come to America and then they make it because that's the story that America is essentially founded on, you know? Like
That's right. Right. And if you think about it, think about the inspiration that creates. I mean, even for someone who is born in America, they see an immigrant come over, they don't have a dollar in their pocket. They are coming into a land sometimes where they don't know the language, and yet they can be so inspired and driven that they create success around them. They raise a family here that truly loves the country in which they live, and they blossom. So when you can watch somebody come in those circumstances, and then you look around yourself and you're like, what the heck am I complaining about? I need to get out there and fulfill my dream too. And
yeah.
people can give that inspiring story to help others to elevate themselves so they can do the same.
No, totally. And Tanya, like American identity is also about the pursuit of happiness. But like, so how do you think Americans should go about actually pursuing happiness? Because right now they're pretty obsessed. Like we have become like a materialistic society in large swaths of the country, and we know that materialism ultimately does not lead to happiness. You know, because like a lot of Americans think that by buying goods and services they can be happy, but well, what is your opinion on that, though?
Well, you know, I live in the land where Thomas Jefferson talked about the pursuit of happiness. I'm only a few minutes from Monticello. So we get to hear about that pursuit of happiness frequently here. But one thing that I believe is that happiness is not external. Happiness comes from within. And you can be happy in any number of circumstances where somebody else would be miserable, right? So if you can create happiness within yourself, then you can create that happiness around you as well. It can be infectious in some cases in a very positive way. I was listening recently to a book by Ken Honda called Happy Money. And in that book, he talks about how you can choose to be wealthy and it is okay. But you can also be unhappy and be wealthy. You can have all the material goods in the world and be unhappy. So, yes, to a certain degree, money can buy you happiness, but then there's a point where money no longer ceases to inspire you. And so, if you're just striving to create a business to make money, it will soon lose its allure. If you can create something, whether it's book, business, or otherwise, that makes you happy, that brings you joy, that brings joy to others, that makes you feel good because you're a part of it, then you can have that happiness that you pursue. So I think happiness is internal. I think it is available to all of us should we choose it. And I think that being in America certainly allows us to have greater opportunities to choose it. But we have to make that choice. We have to choose to be happy. We could grouse about everything about our lives, right? We could, and all that's going to do is create more to grouse about, and then we'll just grouse down to the ground. But if we could choose to be grateful just for what we have, whatever it is, I'm grateful to have a car to live in. I'm grateful to have a house to live in. I'm grateful to have whatever it is that is around me. I'm grateful for where I am at this moment, knowing that I can grow even higher. If you can just express that gratitude and feel that gratitude where you are now, that leads to happiness. And that leads to greater reasons to be happy, because then more things. The universe says, oh, she likes being happy about, having a house over, a roof over her head. Oh, right. Let's give her more reason to be happy about that. And then you just start creating more reasons to be happy. And then you just surround yourself with people who also want to be happy. And then they want to be around you because you're happy. And so I think that happiness is achievable, but it's from within. It's not external. It's not in an Xbox or a car or whatever. Sure, those things can be fun to play with, and it's okay to have resources to play with, but that's not where your happiness lies. You're being happy inside is where that's going to be. And if you can enjoy it while you're in the car, great. If you can enjoy it while you're on the yacht, great. But it starts here. It starts here.
No, I agree. Like because the reason I asked you a question is because what I've noticed over time, like during my stay, is like a lot of people are looking for happiness outside of themselves, or they have like the wrong belief system, which gives them misery for no good reason. But yes, happiness starts from within, and it starts from you perceiving the world with a right mindset. You can look at the same thing, right? You can look at an entity or a person or a thing with the same with a white color lens or a black color lens. But the lens is your perception and your belief system, and through that it'll either make you happy or it'll make you sad. you know
Right.
Two people can look at the exact same thing, and one person will be happy and the other person will be sad, and it's not that thing, it's like their perception of it. So yeah, it's true.
So choose happiness, choose it. And then you'll find more and more reason to be it.
Yeah. So Tanya, can you tell me and the audience a little bit more about Halogen Inc. and what you do and how the premise of how it got started?
Yes. Well, Halogen Inc. was designed to help others to ditch the fear, the confusion, the overwhelm of writing and publishing a quality, bestseller worthy book. Now, for me, I've never been one who just wanted to help people to throw trash out on Amazon really fast and try to make a buck. That's never been my approach. My approach has always been for quality. It's always been, if it's not a bestseller, it is bestseller worthy. It's worthy of it, whether it achieves that status or not. So I believe in quality writing, quality books, quality publishing. And I started out actually, Halogen Inc. started as an editor for independent authors. Over time, we grew, mostly because of our clients' needs. They're like, well, could you help with the next step in the publishing process? Can you help me to figure out how to publish a book? Can you help me to get, positioned with an agent? Can you help me to find a publisher? All those kinds of things. So we grew over time in what we did. We started with just editing a book, and now we do soup to nuts, top to bottom. We can help you get your idea, transform it into an outline, write a book from it, get that book edited, designed, laid out, published, and to bestseller status now. So we've really come a long way over the past 2 decades in helping and serving authors. So we do that through ghostwriting, copy editing. We are book coaches, and we train authors so that they understand the publishing process. So hopefully over time, our clients will need us less and less. You will always need a professional editor, no matter what you write. Somebody asked, well, what books do I really need to have edited? It's like, only those that you want to sell. If you're going to sell a book, you need to have a professional editor, because it needs to be quality. And you don't want your reader to be turned off by what they see, not because of your content, but because of the way it's presented, because you wrote it like an amateur and you didn't have a professional look at it. Not everybody is the stellar writer either. And sometimes people don't have the time to write. They don't have the capacity to write. And that's when it's perfect to have a ghostwriter to write your book. So that way you can just have a conversation with someone like me who is a ghostwriter, And I can take that conversation and lay it on the page for you. And then all you have to do is say, those are my words. That sounds just like me. That's what I want to say. That's it. And then you take that book and you run with it, because it's your book. It's still your ideas, your thoughts. I just helped you to get it out of your head and onto the page. Did you know that 70%, or about 70% of nonfiction books are ghostwritten? That means they're written by somebody else other than the author whose name is on the front cover.
Yeah,
70%.
wow.
Right. So never feel bad, first of all, about ghostwriting or having a ghostwriter for your book. All it is I'm just helping you to get your thoughts out of your head and put it on the page. That's it. Now, ghostwriting is not for everybody. Some people want to spend the time and actually do the writing themselves. Great. That is awesome too. I helped all of my authors to go through their process, whichever way they want to go through it. I've had authors who needed the ghostwriting process, and we worked through that, and we were able to get them to bestseller status after that. I've had other authors who just had their book edited from us and then helped them through the rest of the publishing process. I have others who just come in and get the edit and get out and run. I've had others who say, okay, Tanya, here, work your magic. I'm going to be speaking on this stage in 6 months. I want that book there when it gets there. I don't even need to see it until it gets there, but I want it to arrive there because I know you'll make it perfect. So it just depends on what it is that they need as to what it is we provide. But we can help them from soup to nuts, from idea to bestseller.
Well, if there's anybody in the audience that's hearing this now, if you want to write a book and you're looking for a ghostwriter, then Tanya is the person for you. So yeah, do reach out to her, and I definitely support what you're doing. So Tanya, is there any other projects that you're doing right now that you want the audience to get a glimpse into?
Well, yes, I would love for those who believe they have a strong story to tell that would benefit from the visual element of it. I would love to not only help them to get that story out, but do it in a visual way through a documentary film. And I am working with a team of people and a production team that can make that happen. And so I really want the opportunity. I want people to recognize that not only do they have the opportunity to express themselves in their story and make a positive impact in their words on the page, but they could also have that done in film. And it's such an exciting way for people to be able to share their story and to leverage that tool in a variety of different ways. Now, mind you, I have a podcast on how you can create multiple streams of income with your words. You can do a variety of things with your words that can help you to make money, increase your influence, increase your credibility, help you to leverage your speaking engagements, all kinds of things that you can do. So both in book and in film, you can share your story in a way that makes a positive impact on your audience, but also a positive impact on your streams of income and your growth and development as an entrepreneur or as someone who's just pursuing their dream.
Awesome, Tanya. So Tanya, how can my audience connect with you and get to know more about you and your work and your company and all of that?
Right now, the best way to reach me is actually through my Linktree account. And that is typically linktr.ee/Tanya Brockett. So Linktree, Tanya Brockett, that is probably the best place to connect to me. I put in there any current events that are going on. For example, I'm having a replay of a great program that I did to increase your influence with publishing. I have the replay up on that. And I also have access to my coaching. I do coaching bundles for people so they can have a 3 90-minute sessions with me spread over however they need to in order to achieve a specific publishing purpose or documentary idea. And so we can express we can explore that and come up with a strategy so that they can actually accomplish that. And know that it's not as scary as it could be, because we're here to make it easier. We are here to make it more fun. We're here to make it enjoyable and successful. So reach me on Linktree right now and on LinkedIn. That's another great way to tap into me right now.
Tanya, that's awesome.
Website's coming soon, by the way.
That's awesome, Tanya. And Tanya, I'm so glad and honored that you took the time to take the time to do this podcast with me. Because your words of wisdom, especially about failure and how to do business, is so impeccable and so true in today's world. It's all about your beliefs and all about your mindset. And I appreciate you taking the time to do the show with me.
Thank you for having me. It has been an absolute joy. And I look forward to another time when we'll get together on a podcast. Maybe when you write your next book, you can be on the Write Something Worthy podcast with me.
No, totally. I would want you to come back at a later time, and I would be honored to be on your podcast as well. And yeah, and I want to conclude this podcast by letting my fellow extraordinary Americans know that, hey, look, there's an extraordinary within each and every one of us. It's our duty to awaken it and unleash it. Until next time, bye for now. Hey there, everyone. Thank you for watching Extraordinary America. If you like what you see, please do subscribe to our podcast and share it with others. Remember that the best investment that you can make in your lifetime is in your own financial education, for it is knowledge that truly sets you free. Also remember that your purchasing power is being diluted through inflation, and then the practical thing to do is to protect the loss of your purchasing power by investing in precious metals or the right cryptocurrencies. Also, never forget that you are an extraordinary American. We'll see you in the next episode. Bye for now.